Human laid down on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. He had drifted in and out of sleep and couldn't recall what time it might have been. After the second time, he was woken up by the Brunt guard's constant panting. He kicked the prior out of his room and locked the door behind him, much to his protest. He kept rambling on about how justice never sleeps even when the enemy does, while Human shoved him out of the room. Whoever gave him his original orders had neglected to tell him that he was relieved. The steady, ragged breaths from outside worked like a ticking clock for Human to gauge the passage of time. Lizra had tried to come in a while earlier, but he didn't answer the door. He wasn't in the mood to talk to these people anymore. As much as he knew she was different from the rest of the people here, the meeting itself had left him wanting to be alone once again. But this was the first time in a long time he had been truly alone. Even back on the ship, he could still hear everyone talking as they were going about their duties. This was different, completely quiet other than the buzzing of lights and the incessant sounds coming from the guard. Is this what it's going to be like now? Just out on my own? Where am I going to go once I get out of here? What am I even going to do? He envied the Brunt on the other side of the door now, not having any other purpose in life other than being told what to do. Nothing to worry about except the next mission. He couldn't stop himself from thinking about how worried the commander was when he was asking about other humans. He tried not to show it, but he was genuinely afraid of the possibility of them being out there somehow. But that's not possible. I saw them die. They're gone. That part of my life is over. They're never coming back, for better or worse. It's over. He kept trying to rationalize it and recall the events, but couldn't get the thoughts to leave. But if by some awful miracle a few of them made it out alive, I'll go back and see. I have to confirm it with my own eyes. Once I know they're never coming back, I can move on for good. "Delivery," a familiar voice yelled, banging on the door to the room. Human got up and opened the door. On the other side was Aral, a large baked dessert in one hand and a stack of papers in another. "What are you doing here? I thought you were working on a ship or something," Human asked, stepping back and inviting him into the room. "They let me go this morning, so I went to see the captain to hear if there was any news regarding your situation. She told me you were free to go, so I went and got this tobai in celebration," Aral said, sitting down on the bed and placing the large green dessert on the table. "Thanks, but I'm not hungry." "Oh, I figured you weren't going to eat it. I just wanted to offer it so I wouldn't feel so bad about eating the whole thing myself. You seem down, more so than usual, and that's impressive." He observed placing the stack of reflective papers down on the bed. He started to tear apart the dessert, which looked like it may have been composed of some sort of meat. "The captain was sad, too, when I talked to her. Is everything all right? I thought it was good news at the meeting." "No. It was it's just been stressful being cramped up like this, especially when other people are once again trying to decide for me how my life is going to play out. But I'm in the clear now, waiting on Tic Tac to get back before I head out." "Oh, I was hoping he would be here. I wanted to give him these," Aral said between mouthfuls and motioned down at the laminated papers on the bed. "What are those supposed to be?" Human asked, sitting down against the wall opposite the CnRhin. "Well, they're supposed to be adhesive decals that go on the side of ships, but I got a couple really small ones that might fit on his box. When we were out on quarry, he made a comment about how he appreciated the different clothing the people there wore and how it complements their personalities. I figured he might want something similar for himself, so I got him these." He stopped tearing at the food and sat in silence for a moment. "So, y'all are really leaving? Just like that? There's always room for one more on the crew. I'm sure the captain would love to have you along." "Nah, I think I'll pass on that. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my trip with you guys, but it's about time I did my own thing for a change. Whatever that might be," Human said, looking down at the ground between his legs. "Well, I hope you end up finding what you're looking for. Galaxy is a big place. You'll never run out of things to do and people to see. Just remember, you always got a friend back here in case you stop by." "I appreciate that. I wish I was a little more open to you on the journey. Tic Tac seemed to enjoy being around you ever since Quarry. I'll reach out if I ever come back. Just let me know. Then we can finally have that fight I asked for that first day." He laughed as he stood up. "I won't bother you anymore. I'm off to go see my brother. See you around." "Yep, see ya." Not long after Aral left, Human heard another knock at the door, this one much quieter and lower to the floor. He let out an annoyed sigh and opened it again. What this time, standing below the brunt, who had still refused to move or sleep, was a small, all-red Illyrian who looked up at him with a hint of fear in his eyes. "Gee, good afternoon, sir. I am Officer Candidate Kentry, and I have been instructed to show you to the ship that has been assigned to you, as well as give you this." He spoke very quietly and stumbled over his words. Human couldn't tell if this was his normal demeanor or he was just nervous. Kentry reached up, and in his paw was a small metal object shaped like a coin. "Wait, let me just turn this thing on. There we go. That is the Tracker T hat you agreed to wear. Please just, place it against any piece of metal on your body." "I'm sorry if this is rude, but is that your natural body?" "Technically no, but it might as well be." Human placed the silver coin over the left of his chest, and once it was close it flew out of his hand and magnetically adhered itself to his chest plate. He tried peeling it off with one of his hands, but it was so small he couldn't get a grip on it. "No, please don't do that. It needs a few minutes to settle. Don't worry, the chemical reaction shouldn't damage anything. They're actually made to go on ships." "Speaking of ships, I think there was another part to that deal that I made," Human asked, crouching down to him. Even when he lowered himself down, the small creature barely reached his knees. "Oh yes, right, of course. If you'll follow me," Kentry said, turning around a few times, looking for an escape from between the two creatures. Throughout the entire conversation, the prior outside hadn't moved, but was swaying around and looked like he was on the verge of falling unconscious, bloodshot eyes still as steady as ever. Human extended his hand to Kentry. "Want a ride?" "No, no. Please don't touch me. I will be okay." He jumped back away from Human's outstretched arm and bumped into the guard. He quickly scampered out from under the brunt on all fours before standing back up on 2 feet, heading down the hall. Just, right this way, sir." Human followed closely behind, and a second later the prior behind him spoke up. "Where are you going? You cannot escape. Mine watchful eye," he said, stepping forward unsteady on his feet, nearly bumping into the wall. "What is your problem? Seriously, go take care of yourself. You look like you're about to die. When was the last time you had something to drink?" Human looked over the brunt that kept trying to make his way towards him. The keeper of the human, not bound to worldly commodities like sustenance. The restless guardian yields to no physiologic. He fell to the floor before he was able to finish his sentence, already snoring before he hit the ground. "You guys need to be more careful with how you use these guys. Seems wrong to forget about him like this," Human said, as Kentry tried to keep going. "His first-line leader must be indisposed. I'll let someone know. But please, just this way, sir." Kentry spoke as he pulled out his interface to make a call. "Please stop calling me, sir. Human works fine," he mumbled. "Sorry, Sir Human. I mean, Mr. Human." The officer candidate quickly apologized. He sighed as he followed the Illyrian down the halls and into an elevator. After a few more minutes of slow walking, trying to keep pace with the tiny creature, they walked out into the open spaceport that they had passed during their initial landing. The spaceport was as busy as it had been the day they arrived. Until now, Human hadn't been able to see how far the base extended. Its size was comparable to that of a major city. The stone and metal courtyard spanned a width of miles to facilitate hundreds of ships entering and exiting every hour. Kentry led him to a small vehicle that hovered a few centimeters above a flat magnetic track. Kentry leaped up onto the open-top transport, and Human joined him, standing in the cargo bed in the back. After the Illyrian punched in their destination, it took them there without requiring any further guidance. They sped along the circumference of the circular spaceport, giving Human a chance to see the numerous types of ships that were harbored here, everything from large military vessels hundreds of meters long to slim, sleek fighters small enough for only a single Illyrian occupant. Thousands of workers and automated transports weaved in and around the vessels, making it look like a vast insect colony hard at work. A few minutes passed before they started to slow down, next to a line of pristine fighter craft that had never seen wear or tear. Human let out a long whistle as he looked over them. "I must have made an impression to get something like this. Is it one of these ones?" "Oh no, don't be ridiculous. Those are the new-gen fighters that will be seeing implementation for the first time next month. The one allotted for you is, somewhere around here," Kentry said, getting off in the opposite direction of the fighters. After looking around for a few minutes, he pointed to a ship that was hidden in the back behind an armored troop transport. "Ah, yes, this is the one." "This? What a piece of junk!" Human exclaimed in disappointment when his eyes landed on the ship in question. After seeing the modern counterparts that surrounded it, this ship seemed like it belonged in a museum in comparison. It was a small crew craft that had seen better days and must have lived most of its life in neglect. Various scorch marks and sloppily patched bullet holes riddled the chassis of the ship. It was originally painted a deep green, but the decal had faded and chipped, giving it an accidental look of a gray and green digital camouflage. The small cockpit in the front could seat a pair of pilots, while its bulky midsection sported an antiquated blocky design. Two short wings jutted out from its sides, and they seemed to only exist to sport weapons and not actually assist in the craft's flight. Two overly sized and cumbersome engines in the back were currently oriented towards the ground, but looked as if they could turn in the air to achieve actual flight. "So what can this thing even do?" Human asked incredulously. "Well, it flies and it lands," Kentry said, seeming to run out of other words to describe its capabilities. "Can it even get off-world?" Human asked, walking around to the back of it trying to see if there was a way to lower the rear ramp. "Yes, it just might be expensive to do so very often. But I assure you it will get you wherever you wish to go. These were the staple of versatility in the Outer Worlds rebellions." Kentry explained, clearly much more excited about this ship than Human was. "I hope to be a pilot myself one day, but I'll never get an opportunity to fly something as historically important as this. Many are on display in museums across the UV for their role in the wars. I know countless others would do anything to get their paws on a collectible antique such as this. So they gave me a dated war relic. Great. I guess I should be happy I got anything at all." He found the controls for the rear ramp, pressing a large red button hidden behind a crumbling metal cover. Dust fell to the stone ground as the ship groaned in protest, struggling to lower the ramp. Once it was down, he strode aboard. There was only one large rectangular room in the back of the ship, the walls lined with minimalist cloth seats. The long room led to an open two-seat cockpit at the helm. Comfort was clearly the lowest priority in mind when this ship was designed. It was originally an armored infantry transport. The ramp opens mid-flight, and everyone would jump out of the back once they reached the lower atmosphere. But it's yours now. You can modify it however you see fit once you're gone. A shame. I would never change such a well-preserved piece of history. Kentry mentioned walking up into the ship with Human. "It is already outfitted with everything that was stated in your arrangement and has been inspected to be airworthy. You can leave whenever you like." "Appreciate it. I'll work with my partner when he gets back on how we can fix this thing up," Human said, checking out the cockpit. He looked down at the dusty pilot's seat, noticing the large blood stains that covered most of the fabric. "My apologies. We could not get everything cleaned out. The last mission this ship flew was a little less than successful," Kentry explained when he saw that Human was looking at the dried blood. "But worry not, everything else has been upgraded to meet current operating standards." "Noted. Now that I know where to find it, I'll head back to my room and wait for my friend." When he arrived back at his room, the first thing he noticed was that the guard, who had been passed out, was gone. He let out a sigh of relief as he opened the door and stepped back into the room. Tic Tac was resting on the table by the bed and did not acknowledge him when he entered. "Oh, welcome back. How did it go?" Human asked. "It was time-consuming. They wished to be very thorough," the black box said. "So what all do you remember? Do you remember our trip here? And no, where we are right now. They let me compile a list of what was removed so as not to worry you." "All right. What did they take?" "All information I acquired from the moment we arrived in this system up until a few hours ago. All the data and events from the facility we were found at, and all that I collected from the human ships before we escaped. Other than personal interactions between our escape and now, I am back to how I was before the reset." "So they got everything we stole from the precursor?" "No. During the meeting, I purposely deleted the files that I deemed most dangerous for them to acquire. They have no information on my creation, the gateway technology, or your magnetic assault suit. Since we are the last ones left, giving them this information would do nothing except only allow them to act against us in the future. They also had the extant implement an inhibitor software that would deny me access to specific systems, along with a notification chip. However, we have no need to meddle with their military systems. Tic Tac said. Fine by me. I'm just ready to get out of here. The ship's supposedly good to go. Where to next? Human asked. I think, for the first time, that is up for you to decide.